who in life inspired you to want to create? Like someone close to you, or who inspired you to pick up the instrument?
Well, picking up a piano is something that I've prided myself on not never having to do. I learned early on that like I have a lot of friends that own vans and that stuff for their B3 organs. I
Mhm.
have one back here. You probably can't
Oh,
see
very
it.
cool.
And they were like they had their dollies and their lifts, and I said, I don't want to do that. So thankfully, I very rarely I've had to move a couple pianos across rooms and
Mm.
into houses. But I know that's not what you meant. But
No,
to play the piano, and I have had to carry
Mhm.
these Fender Rhodes. You
Oh
can't
man,
see
yeah.
the reader can't see, but I have lots of big pieces of equipment that I've loaded into many a vehicle and out of a dodgy, smoky,
Mhm.
smells like beer club. In Florida, many times I went to school in
Yeah.
Florida, so many times in Florida was I loading in and out gear. But the bug to play piano, my father was a music teacher, and
Mhm.
so he had a piano, and I don't know, he doesn't anymore, but back in the day in the 70s, when that office, when he's in there slaving over writing music, and there was this rickety Wurlitzer black piano in there, and it smelled like cigarette smoke and all, it was like just alluring enough to a 3 4 year old went whatever go is going on in there is, I think, where the action is. And I don't know what it was that appealed to me about the
Yeah.
piano in particular, but it was immediate for me. It was
Mm.
immediate. The that piano, you couldn't peel me away from that piano. We did upgrade to a baby grand, which they still have,
Very
and
nice.
I was inseparable from the piano from I think age three, 3.5.
Very cool, very cool. I wish I'd stuck with it, but my parents put me in the piano classes like every child, and I, I hated it, so I didn't stick with it. Unfortunately, there was only so many times I could play "Mary Had a Little Lamb" before I wanted to throw it out the window. But it was too small to be able to throw it, as you could
Yes,
imagine.
right. Back well, and there's only so many lambs. I mean, let's be honest. I mean,
Exactly,
let me say
exactly.
this though, and I get this a lot, Warren, from
Hmm.
people after hearing a concert or
Yeah.
after speaking or seeing, knowing what I do. Lots of apology for never having continued their piano lessons. I must hear it. I mean, it's sad, but this is my response is almost always the same.
Mhm.
We need so many more music appreciators
Definitely,
than fellow
definitely,
piano players.
definitely,
If
definitely.
everyone was a piano player, I'd have a lot less luck. So I appreciate that you appreciate music and the arts, and I'm sure
Thank
those
you.
piano lessons in some way informed your level of appreciation of things artistic and music, etc.
Yeah, I can't play. I like to make noise though every time I come across one, and I just use my other abilities like making videos to help celebrate the awesome musicians that are out there,
Cool.
especially throughout Florida. Speaking of, you were at Frost at Miami U.
Pre the name Frost, I'm that old. Yes, I was at UM from 1994. Yeah, man.
Very cool, very cool. And then you ended up touring with Julio Iglesias. How did you go from being at Miami U to Julio Iglesias? What was that connection?
Well, back to loading in and out gear, keyboards and amps out of in Fort Lauderdale when I was in school. Basically coming from LA where it was a lot bigger pool, even as an 18-year-old, everyone could read, everyone could, solo, everyone could play classic. Everyone here, the pool is just a lot more geared towards comp competition and
Mm,
musical excellence as a job, and so when I went to South Florida where the school is very accomplished, the pool was less saturated with people.
I
so
see.
um
Yeah.
so I was able to kind of, I think my second semester, start working at the Coconut Grove Playhouse as a keyboardist in the pit. There was an Anthony Newley musical that was on in previews there. And so somebody asked, I just remember I was in the hall. Somebody said, "You can read, right? You can." Okay, then did you do every other Saturday this and Wednesdays and this? And I was like, I remember somebody asking me, are you working on Friday? And the only thing that ever meant to me prior to that was working at an amusement park or at a pizza place, which
Oh, yeah.
music was never work to me. So I was like, oh my God, they mean music. Oh,
Mhm.
shoot, I guess I'm working now. So that became a steady gig in Fort Lauderdale, on Las Olas Boulevard at a place called O'Hara's with a guy named Dana Paul. And we were in his band every Tuesday playing covers. And I moved back with a band that I was in Miami back to LA.
Okay.
We were in a band called Treehouse, and
Ooh.
we were going to make it big, and that did not work out. But at the same time, all of the guys from that Tuesday night band ended up being Julio Iglesias's touring band. One by one,
Cool.
he just happened to pick three of the guys up. And so he really wanted a Florida band. And I had moved back to LA, but they all said, Jeff's the right guy. It turned out Julio was rehearsing in Las Vegas, and I was pretty close to Las Vegas. So I went in, auditioned, got the gig, and I started working with Julio 2 months out of school, right out of
Oh, wow.
school. I didn't think that's what I was going to do, and what I ended up doing. It was a great
What
way to get my feet wet.
what what did you think you were going to end up doing?
Well, I was in this band that was kind of like, when you look back, you realize, it was kind of the time of Dave Matthews Band and stuff starting up, where it was, you could blend styles. So I was definitely influenced from another Miami alumni, Bruce Hornsby, who's now a friend of mine, and he was always a hero of mine, but also kind of jazz and pop, and we were all into Sting and the Police, and we were all into Peter Gabriel, and we wanted to blend all those things. And then the guitar player wanted to solo like, a guitar shredder, and we all wanted to be everything. And you realize maybe that's too big, too lofty an ambition for
Yeah,
one band. And we didn't quite figure out how to like channel it into a nice bite-sized. So
I feel that. I feel that.
yeah, so what I thought at that time was,
Mhm.
maybe I'll be in a band like that and we'll blow up. Or I would be a session keyboardist. I grew up with Toto being the kind of the gold standard of session musicians that are for hire, that have their own band, that do jazz things for fun. They were, I mean, I could see them in the musicians union directory. I knew where they all lived. They all lived pretty close to where I grew up. So I knew that was achievable. So I thought, if I can't be in this band,
Mhm.
maybe I'll be able to do something like that. And then I also had a jazz band that I'd started here. And then we were just hustling. We were just I just wanted to work as a musician.
Yeah.
That's all I ever wanted to do. Didn't matter what.
What from that experience did you take away or learn from having to go from gig to gig, just trying to make it as a musician?
I still feel like I'm doing that more. I still feel like I'm going from gig to gig. I mean, this business, and like any business, honestly, there's just no guarantees these days. I mean, the days of our parents and grandparents working at the same insurance
Yeah.
agency for 50 years until they're, it's like, no, you're as disposable as anybody else. So I tell budding musicians, go for it. If you have no choice other than to be a musician, that's your calling, and you'll
Yeah.
figure it out.
I see.
It's not easy, but it's not easy for anybody anymore. So do what you love, and if you're good at it, and if you hustle and you work twice as hard as the guy next to you, you have a shot. And that's what I did. I worked twice as hard as I just knew that if I work as hard as I can to achieve what I believe I'm capable of, and even some beyond what I think I'm capable of, I have a shot. So
You
uh,
you got to live out your kind of your dream with touring with Toto.
yep.
They were a big influence on you growing up. Uh, did that experience were you was it did it sour your fanboy experience, or did it live up to all the expectations you thought possible?
It heightened my fanboy experience. I mean, I get chills when you ask me the question. This is just imagine a 10-year-old kid discovering this record, the record with Africa on a Toto 4, and I'm learning every part that David Page, the piano player, played. I mean, I'm learning it verbatim. Like, this is what I should learn to sound good on a record. I mean, his piano playing, his parts, but
Mhm.
Steve Porcaro's play, it's phenomenal. So So when Page decided, David Page is the leader of the band and he was the piano player, he decided to step back from touring for a second to focus on his health. And I had just finished Martin Short's first talk show. This is the year 2000. And I knew the drummer at the time, Simon Phillips, and I knew Steve Lukather, the co-leader who was the singer guitar player. So I knew these guys and I was in the periphery, right? But I never thought I was going to be sent into the majors, and play with the I just didn't think that was going to be a position that opened up.
Do you remember your feeling, how you felt that first night of the first tour? How you felt? What was that? What was that feeling? Was it
I mean,
anxious?
yes, it was all of the things you'd think. I mean, they're hilarious guys, and I had worked with Lukather on some other product. I knew him as a just I'd gone to see his crazy freak out shows, I solo shows. I'd gone like every time he played in town, I'd go, whether it was Toto or not. So I was familiar with his. I kind of also study people's personalities to try to know what where they're comfortable. It's not just about the notes; it's about reading how you're the energies and
Yeah.
playing music with somebody is just like doing a play with somebody. I mean, it's not just about reading the lines correctly, it's about actually transfer of energy and how people. So yeah,
How
that
do you?
was
Yeah.
that was a big deal. And then so that first gig was I knew what they needed, and I had gone and toured, and then I'd sat behind David Page for a few gigs in the States, so I knew the rhythm of it, and I knew how I had to throw down, and I knew in Europe, which is where they were very big at the time, and it was tens of thousands of people, and I knew when they looked up there and they didn't see David Page, they were not going to be happy. So
Mm.
part of it was that, and I
Yeah.
have to go
Yeah.
up and just slay, like I have to go just like be young. I have to be a little bit younger. I have to bring a little bit different energy. I have to
Mhm.
go, yeah, dudes, like you don't want me, but you're gonna go away going, that was pretty cool. And
How
I
long?
think I did okay.
How long into the tour do you think it took until you felt confident enough that you were able to bring that young energy? Was it right away or took a
Yeah,
little
right. I'd
while?
say right away because
Okay.
something I learned pretty young was if I go in half, I'm gonna. That's what they're gonna get. So
I see.
I just was thinking reflexively. If I'm somebody in Oslo or in wherever we were, Gothenburg, Sweden, and I look up and it's not David Page,
Mhm.
like what show is gonna blow me away? Like from this schlub that I didn't pay a ticket for,
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm on their side. Like I had one guy in Eastern Europe that, or he was in like former East Germany. He's like pretty deep Germany, not Munich, not, but like rural, but it was a big festival. And he sat there giving me dirty looks and talking to his friend and pointing at me the whole
Oh wow.
show. And I kept trying to go, man, me and you, man, like I get it. I'm doing my best. He's not gonna come. He's not gonna fly over now. So this is the show you're
Yeah.
getting. Like I'm here for you. And it turned out. Then I told the leader Steve Lukather. I said to him during one of the encores, I said, man, this dude won't let up. And then he yelled at him from the stage, and his friend was so relieved that he was like, his friend just wanted to enjoy the show too. He's like, this
Yeah.
guy won't
Yeah.
showed up. So it was a really sweet moment where the team went to bat for me, and
That's cool. That's cool.
I was
You
just really trying not to disappoint the fans.
you really have to walk that fine line of being authentic with yourself as well as kind of fitting that mold of the other player and not drifting too far out of those lines. Was there a lot of could you improvise a bit within each song?
Totally. Yeah, there was a whole big there's stuff on YouTube, like there's a whole big section which is all keyboard. It's just me on stage. So,
That's
and the
cool.
cool thing about Toto is they could have taken that out because it wasn't David Page. I don't know why they didn't, to be honest. If I'm them, I'm saying no, this Page isn't here, so let's just skip that part. But they didn't. And I take a lot of that. I probably didn't realize how big moment that was for me, and what a nice betting that was for
Yeah.
the band for me now, because why did they give me that time on stage? And I probably could have done, like, now I would be a lot more I would consider my choices a lot more. Then I was just so like, you just put it all out there. Ah, like I
Yeah.
was kind of
Yeah.
trying to do what David Page did, but like try to give it a little more. Now I would have done my own thing, but how cool that I wasn't in my head. I was too young and dumb to know any better. I just like pedal to the metal and give these people a show. And
Mhm.
when I look back at that 28-year-old version of myself, man, right on, like, way to go. Like, you just don't
Yeah.
know any better.
Hey, you got to do something you loved listening to growing up. That's
That's right.
many people get that experience. So
That was awesome.
that must be cool. That must be
Yeah, it
cool.
was great.
Before we get into all the comedy stuff, I
Sure.
would like to turn to your solo albums for the
I'm
most part.
sorry. Yeah.
No,
You're a brave man.
I love your work.
Thanks,
It
man.
makes me feel like I need always have to have the lights dimmed and a nice cigar and bottle of bourbon, and it's if I want to have a good night in to myself when my partner's not here, I'll throw in some jazz like that. So
Cool.
wonderful. But is Clam City your sixth solo, or is that a collaborative album
It's
with your sister?
collaborative. Yeah,
Okay.
that's a great question. Thanks for asking. Yeah, Clam City was so Sam First is a club here that somehow in LA that somehow survived COVID. Most didn't. Most of that size jazz clubs
Yeah.
everywhere, right? It's not like a big venue, that can sustain when it is hand to mouth venue, right? It depends
Yeah.
on shows coming in and out all the time,
Mhm.
and maybe they can sustain a 3 month break, but not 18 months like a lot of. So
Yeah.
Sam First somehow wisely, through them having a good relationship with the
Mhm.
property owner and live streaming,
Yeah.
were able to thread the needle and get through.
Mm.
So then
That's
when they
cool. That's
bounce
cool.
back, it's really cool. So then
Yeah. I
they wanted to
I
have a record label, so they gave us an opportunity to just get together and not only have gigs, but I said I would only do it if Mark Juliana and Tim LaFave, my partners in that on that record, were available, and they were. Touring hadn't really come back. They're both really busy touring musicians. Tim was with Tedeschi Trucks for a long time, and Mark plays with St. Vincent. So
Mhm.
most of the touring was still a little bit stopped down. So it was easier for the three of us to get together, do those gigs, make that record. So it is definitely collaborative. But yeah, I mean, I wrote the music, so it was just I write the music so we have something to do. But it's not definitely, that doesn't feel like I'm like driving the bus.
I co-owned a little comedy club in downtown St. Petersburg for a little while, and during COVID, man, we had to do that recovery rescue act money, and we somehow got through. But yeah, that was killer, man. That just and then finally we got people back in the venue because it's Florida, but we had to seat them like
Oh yeah.
it definitely killer, and it killed a lot of comedy clubs, a lot of music venues.
I know.
Yeah, yeah.
But what's crazy about it, because Steve and Marty and I just did a private function with Nate Bargatze, and we're talking about it. And COVID launched guys into the arena stratosphere like Nate. Like, it's
Yeah.
crazy what you could do with TikTok and YouTube. All these, like, there's some people that just suddenly comedy launched
Mhm.
into a whole thing that it hadn't been in since maybe Dane Cook or something. It's like, whoa, that
Yeah.
just blew up. So weird what COVID,
Yeah.
what that lockdown did for people in clubs, and I think it's forced the hand of clubs to think in a new way and venues to think in a new way and incorporate live streams, and
Mhm.
hopefully we've learned something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it
Yeah.
was no joke.
I want to piggyback off of that, and we'll circle back around to it. But your work on late night, it's been over 20 years. Since you've started, how have you felt that late night has kind of shifted and changed, especially now that COVID has happened and all the online TikTok has kind of surfaced? How has late night changed, at least in your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, immensely. I mean, we could even zoom out and say, how's television changed? I mean, I'm sure your friends, Warren. I mean, if we polled our friends who has a TV, okay, we know what the percentage is going to be. Okay, who has a cable direct we know what the poll would come back, and I don't have to sit here and diss the medium, but
Yeah.
we know what the reality is. So we've had to adapt, right? And my Jimmy, the West Coast Jimmy Kimmel, is really wise about, unlike the record business did, not recognizing that Napster was going to become a force that, became Spotify, etc. Jimmy recognized that online streaming was here to stay. So
Yep.
we create a show that acknowledges that it will be parsed out, and that people will watch it in chunks and not in the traditional broadcast format. But I still watch reruns of Johnny Carson. I
Yep.
grew up really, my hero was David Letterman, as was Jimmy Kimmel's. I watched a Letterman rerun 2 nights ago. That to me was the golden era of what I saw as being grown up comedy, in an hour format. But
Definitely.
that's not the way people consume comedy anymore, or entertainment. So you realize that the new Marvel movie, let's say Guardians of the Galaxy 9 comes out, right? Groot, or let's say Dave Bautista is he doesn't have to appear on the late night shows in order for that movie to do well anymore. It used to be a necessary stop, right? So
Mm-hmm.
we're just seeing all those little elements that made up a nightly talk show. They're changing. And we see that in real time. Definitely. I've been there. I was there from the end of the golden age to the really the meat of the streaming age. And we've adapted best we can. We were definitely early in viral videos. I mean, there was the I'm effing Matt Damon / Ben Affleck, and that was a
Yep.
very early viral video. And I think we recognized that trend pretty early, and rather than fight it, we just tried to create content that could be, that could be cut up like that. And Jimmy is amazing. And I will say, like, through all of this, we've seen shows come and go, and I was very close with the James Corden band, and a lot of Conan's band, and love what the work that everyone did, and Seth Meyers band too. Great guys over there, and we've seen late night bands come and go, and there doesn't need to be a band on the side of the show. But I'll tell you what, Jimmy Kimmel
Yep.
is as loyal and recognizes the value of musical contributions and human beings. And we all are fans of comedy, so hopefully we're contributing to the comedy as well. And that's a lot of stuff that the viewers don't see, but we're contributing to little fake commercials. And I was just this morning in this studio here, singing a silly jingle for a fake toy. And we're doing that all the time, besides playing just the stuff you see us play in and out of commercials for the audience. So it's really changed a lot, but what stayed the same is Jimmy's loyalty and his family based kind of just taking care of people that he believes work hard and do a good job, and share his sense of humor. So we're pretty lucky.
I want to jump back before we get back to comedy, but you've been in a band called Cecilia Noel and the Wild
Wow.
Clams,
Yes, that's true.
and now you've come out with Clam City.
What's my thing with clams?
Yeah, do you like mollusks?
That's funny. I don't know. They weren't related. Cecilia Noel and the Wild Clams was this band that was just enormous in LA when I got back from Miami. And it was crazy because they'd play these clubs, and she had just gotten signed, and it was a full horn section and dancing, background singers and percussionists,
Very
and
cool.
every good musician in LA would wanted that gig. So you'd go on any night, and it would be all the star side musicians were in the band, and you just go, oh my gosh, they're all in one roof. And then all these people that you recognize, stars and whatever, were at the shows. It was the coolest. So to get in that band when I was, in my 20s was an awesome. And Cecilia was crazy. She's still a dear friend. She's married to Colin Hay from Men at Work, and she's awesome. I love her
Very
so
cool.
much. But Clam for Clam City, I just wanted that to be a name of a band rather than look like it was my thing. And clams are a synonym for wrong notes. So I just
Oh,
thought it
okay.
was funny. A whole city of incorrect notes made me laugh.
Interesting.
And
Very
it's
cool.
alliterative, so why not?
What was the hardest part to writing or composing a song for Clam City?
Gosh, great question. So we had the gig coming up on the books. And every time I get together for a live gig, I try to write something new. But that band is really incredible because Mark Giuliano, the drummer, had his own band called Beat Music. He still does, but Beat Music LA, which was no written music. And it's just the four people in the band create on the spot. And I like to have, in this case, something so at least we know where to take off from and that we know we can land to. But that doesn't necessarily mean we have to do anything. It's just here. So those songs were all composed pretty much the week of the gigs, the first gigs that we did as a trio under that moniker. And they were pretty easy to write because I know those guys well and I know what they represent, what they can, what they'll do with it. So they're just little suggestions. And we can go there and we can come back, and I just know how those guys operate. We don't need to talk about it very much. We look at how they go for 8 minutes and all the songs combined, and then we go get dinner, and then we
Sounds like
play
a
them.
good ending. Sounds like
That's
a
the
good ending.
best, the
Yeah,
best.
yeah. This is the best part, I bet.
Yeah, dinner's the best part.
What do you usually like to get for dinner? What's
Before a gig, that's tough, right? Because you don't want to like the
can't
one
get
thing.
something gassy or
No,
something
you
that's
don't want to be
yeah, no,
bloated. So,
no,
and
no.
also, as you saw, I mean, if we're going back to Steve Martin and Martin Short, spoiler alert, there may or may not be a unitard involved. So you have to consider that situation. So I don't know. I've changed over the years with what I eat before a gig. Usually it's a little lighter, but then I kind of stress eat like nuts or cheese or some crackers. Like I don't get nervous before gigs anymore, but I do find myself just kind of like, like snacking just to so I'm not just thinking about how I'm
Yeah.
going to crash and burn.
I loved your TEDx that you did about 6 years ago on being present, and
Thanks.
I've been resonating with it for a couple of days now, and I'm gonna just list out the noble truths that you gave: listening, reading the room, and train to be ready. What practices do you do to stay present within your work?
As you asked, thank you, by the way. As you asked that, I realize like I had to check in with you as you asked that because hearing it back makes me uncomfortable because I'm like, oh my God, right, people watch this stuff. So I have to go, okay, that's great. That's why it was there. But it's a work in progress always, Warren. It's a work in
Yeah,
progress
yeah.
at all times. So obviously there's meditation involved and self-reflection. And recognizing that I am, I'm a human being rife with character defects, and that has to be okay. And if every day I can work on those a little bit and be a little bit kinder to everybody else, including myself, which is the hardest part. Sometimes I'm a good friend to people, and I forget to be a good friend to myself as I fall over myself and make mistakes. And it's just and realizing it's a lifelong learning curve, and I will fall and I will stumble and I will maybe upset somebody or somebody will upset me and I will respond in a way I'm not proud of, and I got to move on. What I can't do is be in this cycle of beating myself up or shame
Oh,
or get.
yeah, yeah.
So if I can just before I start spinning out in the echo chamber, I just go, yeah, man, like that's what we do. That's what human beings do. We if we're trying not to be malicious and harm people, if that's not our goal, and stuff happens in the way because we whatever life got in the way, it's gonna happen. But I think if one reads the room and listens and is aware of others, um, if we don't nail it on the first go around, next lap we'll get it and do a little better.
it's like a music or even a comedy performance. It's always changing. It's never the final product. You're always refining. You're always adding or subtracting. It's never, at the end of the day, art is never really a final product.
Well, that's why the yes and is the most, it's the best two words.
Yeah,
I wish everybody had a course in improv because it's the best two words that anybody could.
absolutely.
We're so not especially America. I think European might be a little more yes and as in general, but we like to kind of be the end all, like we're all the hero of our own story, and it's like
Yeah,
maybe maybe on one day, but maybe we need to be a support player one day, or maybe we're not even in this story,
yeah,
but we can just be observers. And yeah,
exactly.
improv has such a beautiful way of like learning to listen. It's such a great practice.
For sure, for sure. And just from what I've learned, it really does help you be in that moment. Like, because you can't focus on a script, you can't focus on anything. You just have to focus on now and getting and making your partner look good. It's about trusting that they'll also make you look good. So, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and try and staying focused in results of like if I say this and the other person doesn't say this, that has to be fine. But a lot of people that maybe don't aren't aware of this practice, like they're really focused on I will do this in order to do that, right? In order for this person, or it's manipulative, right? And in
yeah,
improv, there's no room for that because you can direct things and but you're hoping you're directing it as a group. And that definitely happens with Steve and Marty. I mean, I'm so lucky to be in a room with those guys and listen to them write, all the time.
absolutely.
It's insane.
For the Steve Martin short show, how involved are you with the process of writing these comedy bits with the two of them? Uh, if I'm trying to think of the show and I don't want to give too much away, it's people need to see it. But there's one bit where you're trying to talk and they keep cutting you off, something like that. But how involved are you with that kind of creation of the
that
show?
that particular so it happens a couple times throughout the show that
Hmm.
and I've in fact Reggie Watts, who used to be at the at the James Corden show, is a friend. Reggie, first early on when I was doing it with just Marty before we joined up with Steve and the Rangers, I remember Reggie came up to me after I was kind of doing that bit and he said, man, I love that character. And I hadn't realized, this is probably 15 years ago, but I hadn't realized at that point it was a character. And once I was able to, then I got to love this character because he's this musician that we like. I'm on the poster, and Jeff Babko, like me, this guy you're talking to,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know I have no business being on that poster. I'm not driving up ticket sales. It's just because Steve and Marty are really nice and they don't want to leave anybody out. That's all that is. Thank you guys. And occasionally a guy I went to high school with goes, oh my God, Jeff Babko's there, and they buy 4 tickets. So if I'm driving it up 4 tickets, great. And thank you guys for putting me. But this guy, the Jeff Babko on stage,
mhm,
really thinks he's like a part of the show and it's his moment, right? It's his
yeah,
moment to
yeah.
like get in there. And he's been saving some things to say. And I love and so I make that up. That's all new every night.
Oh,
I
very
try
cool.
to mess with Marty every night, like by we found the sweet spot only really in the last 2 years of the
Mm,
audience has to kind of like this guy. They also have to realize, yeah, it doesn't. We don't need any more of whatever he's saying. Like that's we've had plenty, but we don't want to hurt his feelings either. So
yeah,
it's the sweet spot of, but Marty will let it go long if he thinks it's particularly like if I might spin out. He will let it go another 2 minutes, and
yeah.
I can go because I've hung out with that guy at a party numerous times, so I know that he's got hours of material in there. He can go as long as you want, as you can tell today.
Yeah.
But no, it's so much fun to play this guy because I love
It's
this guy. Like he's a good guy. He really thinks though that part of the show is it's his time, and nobody else in the audience or on stage thinks he has that. And I often do it with Marty and Steve in the car or on the phone. Like I'll say, and then I'll prepare my solo number, and then they say, we know we don't need it this time. So I kind of envelop this guy that really thinks his place at the table is maybe not equal, but
I,
somewhere
I
up there.
Yeah, I like that. I like that the guy kind of, he almost feels like he's equal, and he feels like he
Yeah.
has that part to play. I bet you have so much room to move within that character with your material. That
Oh,
just sounds
he's
like a
great.
fun
I love that guy so much, and I try to find like per night or wherever the energy is, like what is a pretty dull inroad to get like where can we start a just a baseline
Mm,
boring
yeah.
place and where can we go? It's so much fun to explore what that poor guy, because he's really a faucet, is really ready to open up and let it out, and it's been fun to find that sweet spot with Marty too, because he's such an easy he's so easy to work with, and we both kind of got excited when we realized 20 years into touring that we figured out who this guy's supposed to be.
How do you all feel at a room? Like I know you probably have certain jokes you try to land, and if the audience doesn't take it, then you have another set of jokes. How do you usually feel out how the audience is gonna handle stuff?
Obviously, regionally, things work, things don't work. Venue wise, the casinos, things are going to play or not. I mean, Ruth Eckerd Hall, I've been to, I mean, Julio Iglesias, I played there in 94 with him. So I've been to Ruth Eckerd Hall a trillion times. I think Thoroughbred Music used to be next door, right?
I think
And
so.
then
Yeah, yeah.
Jeff Berlin had a music school. I mean, I go there so often. I don't, if it's not once a year, I've been there with James Taylor. I've been there a lot of time. So we know what plays in these theaters. We know these theaters, we know these cities. So part of it is regional and what work. Obviously political things either work or they don't work. How deep do you want to go into that? How much does something that we know is a little bit controversial, how far can we kind of bump around where somebody's not going to get mad because we realize it's satire or parody, or and it depends. There are a lot of nuances that don't play in certain parts of the country that do, and that's nothing. That's not an assassination on anybody's character. It's just certain things. More cosmopolitan cities have a different rhythm and cadence
Mhm.
than non, and you just, we kind of go in, and then the guys, Steve and Marty, read it as they're going, and we start cutting or adding, and then I'll tell you what, if something doesn't land, you will hear no more laughter than from the side of the stage from whoever's not on stage at that point. The most laughter is when a joke tanks. If the audience has a chance to try to listen to the stage volume from either the left wing or the right wing, you will hear thunderous applause and laughter when something bombs. There's
Oh,
nothing
wow.
better, nothing better, because they work so hard on this material night after night. They work so hard,
It,
um,
it
obsessively
shows.
so. Oh,
It
good.
definitely it definitely shows. It definitely shows. What's been your favorite part of working on this show? It could be a bit, or it could be the process of coming up with it, or all the different venues to see. What's your favorite part? What been your favorite part?
I mean, you're talking to a guy, you were talking about Toto earlier. You're talking to a guy that rented Three Amigos from my video store in 1986, 7, 8, 9 weekly. Like
Yeah,
if it's available at the video, and we've got to remember, to younger,
yeah,
of audiences, you didn't just have it available with a click. I had to make sure it was at the store, and I could only have it for 3 days at a time, right? So
yeah.
my friends and I were renting Three Amigos. If it was at the store, that's what we're going to watch. Like,
Mhm.
oh, it's there, it's at the Video Depot, that's what we'll watch this weekend. So I'm
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
familiar with that movie, and then also for I was an avid, the season of SNL that Marty was on.
Mhm.
I know I can recite. I know I've recited sketches back to Marty that he doesn't remember. Like I can do pretty much line by line. So I was a fan. I'm a fan. The Jerk too with Steve, and
Yeah,
and
yeah.
um,
I will say my first uh, uh my first seeing Martin Short was I was a big fan of Beethoven with Charles Grodin,
sure.
and so at the
So you
video
watch
store
Clifford?
I watched Clifford, and goddamn, there's no big fucking red dog. And 5-year-old me was very, very pissed off. But I've come to love that movie. We uh outside of Tampa is actually Dinosaur World. So every time we drive by it, I am screaming, "I want I got a dinosaur world.
That's
So,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. And I saw that in the theater and was as a Mark Short. I was in Miami at the time, and as a Mark Short, I was like, I'm very confused, and I think I'm gonna understand this. There's a lot to unpack here. I just gotta,
Yeah.
and that's become a favorite as well. But yeah, I mean, I think to answer your question, like the craziest thing for me is that the Three Amigos renter in me. Just in the car with them or backstage or at catering and just hanging out with them and then listening to them work their process and being a part, you know, they're both unafraid to share stuff they're working on, and we can kind of workshop it, you know, on the fly, and to be able to be a part of that process is something I never thought I'd have a chance to do. And rehearsal too. Rehearsals for me are one of the least favorite things in my life, rehearsing.
Yeah.
But with those guys, like I get to hear them work out. You know, Steve is such an incredible master of language and grammar and real writing, and to hear how he can play with the sentence structure and just his voice dipping certain words and accentuating. I mean, it's like music to me. It's probably why he's such a good musician.
Yeah.
He really crafts every sentence to manipulate the English language to try to elicit a laugh through either awkwardness or direct, you know, slapstick funny or whatever. But it's really interesting how a group of say 12 words can be sliced and diced like he does it. So that's for me, that's crazy that I even get to bear witness to that.
Has there been any moments throughout your tour that have stuck out to you, or basically, do you have a good story that you could share about your time with Steve and Martin? Steve Martin Short?
Yeah, I mean, yes, there's a million because we've done
Of
a lot of
course.
shows. You know, again, if you can picture what it's like to get in and out of unitards off stage, it's always hilarious.
How long
So
does that
just
take? How long does it take?
we have less time than one thinks. So that's hilarious every time. And then Marty and I know each other really well, so it's comedy, offstage comedy always. Um gosh, I'd say, you know, those guys just love playing cribbage every day. It's the most old man sad pastime. And just watching their rapport and their slight competitiveness and uh brotherly love, but watching how, you know, every time you see them on a talk show, how they kind of have some banter and slight digs at one another, that is heightened in real life. And to be a fly on the wall for that stuff and get to participate, it's always a blast.
I hope I can one day have a friend and creative partner like that. I can only imagine their relationship, but
Well, I will
yeah.
say, like to that point, what Marty has, which I've learned from knowing him, it'll be 26 years next year. His family, which is a very traditional Irish Catholic family with a lot of siblings, and he experienced loss very young. To those that haven't read his autobiography, it's a beautiful book, and um, so between the Irish Catholic brother sisterly love is they don't take anything that seriously or preciously. Part of it's because of the lost young, but part of it's just, hey guys, we all know that no matter what, nobody gets hurt here. So
Yeah.
all bets are off. And just they're ruthless to one another, but in a loving way. And that is really fun to watch carry over to his relationship with Steve, because he has that familial love with Steve, and they are able to playfully, you know, barb like that. And that's really been a life lesson for me as just
Gotcha.
a human, to watch how to interact and react to people in close quarters. It's beautiful. And it's why Marty's been so successful for so many years. Everyone loves him. Everyone wants to be around him. And I'll tell you, no one's disappointed, I don't think, when you get the chance. And Steve being such a strong legendary. We were all, including Marty, fans of Steve. And to be able to watch them just experience friendship is awesome.
The Steep Canyon Rangers, going back to that, they're going to be at the show on the 10th, and you perform with them. Um, it's a very dynamic, you're very dynamic with your genres. What differences would you say you find performing jazz versus performing that kind of Americana music?
Yeah, well, bluegrass, there's like no place for piano, right? So
Yeah,
I still don't know what to do with the Rangers except just be with them and not get in the way and not step on all of them, because in bluegrass, like, no one takes a rest. Like, it's a digga, 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 digga. The only guy that's legato is Nicky on the fiddle, so everyone else is playing every 16th note all the time. So it's like a bunch of synchronized typewriters. Like, it's like digga, 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 and everybody plays every subdivision of every note. What's a piano going to do? The same? Or so I don't really know. But
I see.
the Rangers are so much beyond just bluegrass, and they
Yeah,
do go to the Americana roots world, and that's something I'm a lot more familiar. Again, like going back to Bruce Hornsby, that guy, like, he has always been able to understand Americana roots music. He's from Virginia. Leon Russell was one of his heroes. Keith Jarrett, one of his folk. He understands folk. He understands jazz. He understands bluegrass. So I always found there is a way through. Always, just like what you said about the TEDx talk. There's always a way through. It's just not to fight it or combat it. It's like, a lot of times just lay out, just don't play. But in that case, it's fun. Everybody's in. So let's just play like we're all at a party playing the same song, and try not to step on anybody.
What what's next for you? What are you working on now? In between Kimmel and this show, what are you working on?
Yeah, sure. We just put a Christmas record out with this band of other brothers that I'm in. That was fun. A lot of work because we all live in different cities. Now that that's launched, and no, everyone seems to forget there is a deadline on the holiday album. It's called Christmas, and you don't want to
Yeah,
put it out on Christmas because 26. No one wants to listen to Christmas music. Arguably, people don't want to listen to Christmas music December 1st either. So we really had a strict kind of, guys, we got to get this out. Like, you got to be done in August. So that was fun. I don't know if we'll get to play live because it's tough. Everyone's busy. Next year, Steve and Marty have dates booked, which is great. Kimmel, as far as I know, will have shows through the end of the year, unless someone pulls us off the air. We'll see what happens. I don't think that'll happen, but there have been threats. So, just in the who knows.
yeah.
But we are scheduled to have a full year of work. I've got work all the way to January 26th.
Nice, nice.
Steve Luca from Toto has a gig in Japan. I'll go to Japan with Steve and another guitar player, Mike Landau. And um, movie I worked on, Complete Unknown, the Bob Dylan movie. I did a lot on that, so that comes out on the 25th. And I think it's just the business is really changing. It's for freelance musicians in Los
Yeah.
Angeles. So my wife's a studio violinist. It's a new landscape. We're not young bucks anymore, so we're no longer trying to really hustle. We're just kind
Yeah,
of,
it sucks this hustle culture. Like, you gotta be the creator, you gotta create the marketing, you gotta push it out there, you
yeah,
gotta get. It's like you gotta do everything, and
yeah.
it sucks. So yeah,
It does
I can.
suck. We just were dealing with it today. I did something for Amazon for that show, The Boys, and they're like, how's the invoicing situation? I was like, gosh, I told my wife that, it's like, why am I in the third email about have I submitted the paper? Like, there used to be whole departments that I used to just play the piano, which I thought I did pretty well, and then I could receive my, like, I don't want to do 9 more steps once I did the piano part. Remember that? So someone else should handle, but it's been going this way for a long time, and we're just trying to ride the wave until, it's completely somebody else's generation to take over, and we'll see what that looks like. I got my studio here. I'll probably do some more messing around, writing some new music, and maybe a little band in the works, and we'll see.
Quickly, I did want to ask, you do so many TV and film scores.
Uh-huh.
Uh, what's that process? How do you go about creating one of these gigs? What's that look like?
So yeah, when I started dating my wife, I realized how film scoring was based on contractors, which means the contractor, and there are a few big ones in LA, work for the studio to hire an orchestra or scoring musicians for whatever movie. In my case, coming in, I was hired by the composer because I knew all these composers just from banging around LA for so long. So I'd never noticed who the contractor was. I was like, well, so and so's calling me. I go over, and then I'd get an email from the contractor's office. I don't know who that is, but yes, I'm available. I didn't know. I kind of jumped the line to get in, and a lot of these people just get in with the contractors. With the composers. So for me, it was creating a lot of relationships with great composers. And incredibly, like 15 years ago, I was doing a lot of work with this guy, Christoph Beck. And we did Frozen's together, and we did a lot of silly movies, like some of the American Pie movies. And
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
but Chris, what you don't realize when I'm just going into work was that he had a team of five guys, let's say, five guys and gals, let's say. Three of them become award-winning accomplished composers themselves, but you don't see that when you're at work. You just think that's the guy that plugs in my B3 and he gives me the charts. So all of them, I'd say there was a time for Chris where I'm working for four of his assistants now,
Oh
on
wow.
big movies. Two of them do Cobra Kai. They're no longer obviously his
Hmm.
assistants, but they've all graduated to the big leagues, and they're awesome. Like, he had this pool of people, so a lot of it was just sticking around long enough and hopefully being good enough, and then the people that you didn't even know you were working for or impressing suddenly take over. And
Mhm.
that's what's cool about being around so long. A lot is watching a lot of these people just arrive in their own right and be incredible creative. So for me, it's about having, I have a lot of, as you can see, I have a lot of
Yeah.
keyboards, and so it's a lot of gear. Like when we did Killers of the Flower Moon, like Robbie Robertson didn't know exactly what sound he wanted, so I brought 12 organs,
Are
and
you all in the room together now, or is it still separated?
for that, we were all in the room. In fact, Killers of the Flower Moon was pretty early. I think we started
Mm.
scoring in fall of 21,
Oh wow.
and there was a lot of COVID tests for us all to be in the room. But we all were in the room. So I'd say for film, it's about 50-50. I do a lot from here and I send it in. And like for this
Do
Weird Al movie, we did it here. Uh, uh, but
do
a lot of
you
times I'm with a group.
do you get to do they have you watch on screen what's happening and then you record the music over it?
Yep.
All right. All right.
Like for comedy, like on that run of comedies I did in the mid 2000s, like Superbad, 40-Year-Old Virgin,
Sarah
Forgetting Sarah
Marshall.
Marshall, all those. Comedy was big. I was in the room with Lyle Workman, who's one of my best friends, and we're watching it and really trying to, without an orchestra, we're really trying to carve out how to serve that scene. You don't want to be a joke on a joke,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's already funny. So where are you neutral? Do you play it up? Do you and there's a lot of notes from the director that he has to address, and then I'm just there to be part of his toolbox to go, okay, Jeff, this is what's going on, this is what I'm thinking. And then now I get to paint a little bit with him, and then he presents it and edits it. That was a real collaborative
Mhm.
process. But for something like Toy Story 4 or a bigger move, Frozen 2, like a lot of these that are big, especially animated, where you're married to, they have to prepare the picture early because they're voice
Yeah.
acting early. Um, I'm in with an orchestra, scared to death, sweating from every pore, thinking I'm going to mess up, reading music, making tons of notes with a pencil, amazed that I got through another cue and that it's lunch. Like I am stressing. Those are not, yeah, I'm really thankful to get to do them, but
They're not fun.
they're really, I'm getting tense just talking about it. Yeah, they're scary.
I just I watched Candy Cane Lane
Oh
once,
yeah.
and I can't imagine having to watch it many times over and over and over and over again. So
Congrats
it,
for getting through it.
there's a lot
It was
of
fun to work on though.
yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah.
repetition. You would say in your work, having to do things multiple takes over and over again.
Candy Cane Lane's one that I remember too. I don't remember them all, but that one was really hard because in all Christmas music, you learn that there's a celeste. That's the bell kind of keyboard. If people don't know, it sounds like Christmas. It's like every Christmas
Oh yeah,
has
yeah.
as a ding 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 ding. Oh, that's celeste, which is a little instrument, French instrument, and it's small and it doesn't play like a piano, but they always composers or their teams always want it to sound very expressive, but it really only does this volume and almost nothing because it's just little bells. So but they want it to sound like all of their in the box computer samples that they used, and it's the real ones don't really do that much. They're just on and off. So I remember Candy Cane Lane being pretty tricky to execute all the things that they were hoping to get. But and it was the last movie I did with, I think we were 5 days on that movie at Sony. So that's one I do remember, and there yeah, that's one that you're right. It has a theme that repeats
Yeah.
quite a few times. Yes, I do remember that as well. Yep, I think I might even be able to play it if I thought for 2 seconds, but I won't do that to you.
So other than the plethora of projects, TV and film you've worked on, where can people find your work online?
Yeah, sadly, I'm not on the socials, right? And that was a decision. I used to be.
I wish I could make that decision. I hate social media. It feels so much like junk food, and there's so much crap out there now. It's just AI generating AI crap, and yeah,
I
it's not
know.
fun to be on.
I know, and it's a necessary, I won't say evil, but it's a necessary component of the business. And thankfully, I had built my cachet to where when I thought it was important to get off the socials for a number of reasons,
Yeah.
I tried it out and I was like, I may lose all my work, but I didn't. But I think it was helpful for a time for me to create, a presence. I have a website and I update it, and it seems that the people that really want to reach out just find me there. And I always go, well, if you took the time to find the website, I will. I mean, I almost always respond unless it goes to my junk, and I'm sorry if it does, but I'm pretty easy to reach, and I'm always doing stuff, and I'm always out there playing, and always another day in the music business is a day to be grateful for. So, and pretty happy.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you taking an hour to talk with me today about your upcoming show at Ruth Eckerd. I
Psyched to
don't
be back.
I don't think I'm gonna make this one because I've seen it, and I want to give that seat to somebody who hasn't, because just it is such a funny and magical experience seeing it live, and just anyone who can needs to see the show for sure.
I agree. I think we're getting a lot of new fans with Only Murders and
Yeah.
multi-generational, and it's so cool to see people that haven't seen the guys in person. Just to the first moment that Steve walks out on stage, it's
Mm.
beautiful to watch these many generations, 3, 4 generations sometimes.
Yeah.
There's kids there. I mean, just really nice to have them experience what I remember experiencing. As I mean, I would be freaking out seeing this show if I was a kid. So, or if I was 40, God forbid. So yeah, that I hope a lot of people get to enjoy this show and get some laughs.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jeff.
Thanks, War. Appreciate it, man. Take care.